Have you ever really thought about what it takes to change someone's mind? I mean, not just one person, but a whole country? Well, today we're going to dive into the work of a psychologist named Kurt Lewin who figured out a powerful secret to making that happen. And it all kicks off with this wild experiment right in the middle of World War II. So, picture this, it's World War II, and the US government has a huge problem on its hands. To support the troops, they need everyone back home to start eating things they'd, well, normally turn their noses up at. We're talking liver, heart, kidneys, organ meats. This was a massive psychological puzzle. I mean, how on earth do you convince an entire nation to change something as personal as what they eat? So they tried an experiment, and they tested two totally different approaches on groups of housewives. The first group got the old-school treatment, a serious, top-down lecture from a nutrition expert. You know, lots of data, charts, the whole nine yards. But the second group, they did something completely different. They just sat down in small groups and talked about it, with a moderator there just to guide the conversation. And the results were just, wow, not even close. The expert lecture, it convinced a tiny 3% of the women to actually try the new meats. But the group discussion, a whopping 32% of them did. That is more than 10 times more effective. This wasn't just a small statistical bump. It was a total game changer in understanding how people work. Okay, so who is the genius who came up with this? The man who knew that a simple discussion could be so powerful was Kurt Lewin. And to really get his ideas, you kind of have to understand the incredible life he lived.
Lewin's life was just defined by conflict. He fought for Germany in the First World War, then became a celebrated psychologist there, only to have to flee his own country when the Nazis came to power in 1933. So you can see how his personal experience with tyranny and his passion for democracy really fueled everything he did.
This quote right here, this is his whole philosophy in a nutshell. For Lewin, a theory wasn't just some dusty idea for a book on a shelf. No way. It had to be practical. It had to be a tool you could actually use to go out and fix real problems in the world.
Now, this equation might look a little intimidating, but the idea behind it is so simple and so powerful. It just means that our behavior is a function of who we are as a person times the environment we're in. Think about it. You could be a really reserved person, but if you're at a loud rock concert, you're probably going to be yelling, right? Your environment changes your behavior. Lewin was saying you can't understand why people do things unless you look at both them and their situation. And honestly, that was revolutionary at the time.
And this brings us to his biggest idea, group dynamics. He actually invented that term. His point was that a group isn't just a random bunch of people. It's like a living thing, a system with its own energy, its own pressures, its own unwritten rules that affect every single person in it. And here it is. This is the secret sauce behind that wartime experiment. See, when someone just lectures you, you're just passively listening. But when you get to discuss something, argue about it, and decide for yourself, suddenly you own that decision. You're not just following orders anymore. You're an active part of the change. And that simple shift is everything. Lewin even tested this out with leadership styles. What he found was fascinating. The authoritarian leader, the classic my way or the highway boss, yeah, they get high productivity, but morale is in the tank. The laissez-faire leader, the totally hands-off one, total chaos on both fronts. But the democratic leader, the one who involves the group, they got the best of both worlds, high productivity and high morale. And this stuff works in the real world. Get this. In a factory, when workers were actually allowed to decide on their own work methods and goals, their productivity shot up by 20%. So participation isn't just about making people feel good, it actually gets better results. You have to understand, for Lewin, this was so much bigger than just organ meats or factory quotas. Because he'd seen Nazism rise up close, this was personal. He believed these principles of group dynamics were powerful tools for social justice. He wanted to give democratic societies a way to fight back against the forces of oppression he knew so well. So what Lewin left us with is basically a toolkit for change. And the tools are simple. Get people to actively participate, let them make decisions together, create a sense of shared responsibility. These are the fundamental building blocks for any community group or social movement that wants to make a real difference. And that's the real beauty of his work when you get down to it. Group discussion is a deeply democratic tool. You don't need fancy technology, you don't need a ton of money, you don't need permission from someone in charge. It's simple, It's accessible, and that makes it an incredibly powerful tool for change from the ground up. Okay, but there is one crucial condition. You can't just throw a bunch of people into a room and expect magic to happen. The key ingredient is having a skilled facilitator, someone who can guide the conversation, make sure every voice is heard, and help the group find common ground, all without taking over.
So, at the end of the day, Lewin's entire legacy leaves us with this one simple but really profound question. What if the path to a better world doesn't start with some grand plan from the top? What if it just begins with the simple act of people sitting down in a room and talking to each other? It's a powerful thought, isn't it?